not I'd not sent a nice thank you letter to you, and began to feel I'm guilty. I don't know how I'm going to apologise to you, because I really realised that indeed you might very well be actually hoping to meet.
Well, no, it's always a pleasure to come and see you, and we're next coming to see you on Christmas Day. So
Oh.
we'll be there for Christmas Day, and it's not long away. In fact, I think it's about 10 days away. No, 21 days.
21 days.
3 weeks today.
3 weeks today.
3 weeks today till Christmas.
Oh, well, that's like 5 minutes. 3 weeks, 5.
And we are Mum, Tim, Jane, Nick, and myself, Eddie, will be here to see you.
How very nice.
Uncle, the rest of your family are being very international. Uncle Tim, Tim Smart, Auntie Kirsty, Hamish, and Emily, they're going to New York next week.
Are they?
Yeah. And Stephen, Matthew, and Louisa.
Stephen, Matthew, and Louisa. Ah.
Stephen,
Yes.
Matthew, and Louisa, they are going to New Zealand.
Are they?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. No, on an amazing little trip they do. So,
Yeah.
but thankfully this time they're not going by boat.
I'm not going by boat now. What was the significance of that?
Uncle Steph likes to sail. Do you know,
Yes.
he likes sailing and boats.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, now we have a non-smart family member here, and he's a very friendly fellow here. Do you want to sit on that one? And
No,
yeah.
Sit wherever you wish to.
He is.
No good, fine.
Now, he's been inducted into our little madhouse that's the smart family, and so he's slightly a bit of an outsider, but he can tell you he's very much enjoying what he's seeing and hearing. So what I wanted to make him realise was how beautiful Horseshoe House was, and we're going to go and see it later. But could you describe it to him?
Well, it's up the road from here. It's not far. That was a pinch. I'd look at you and I'd say, "Can we get there?" I wonder on foot or I'm trying to think how far it will be away, and whether to get into some other parish. This is in another parish, and I honestly don't know any manners. I'm feeling embarrassed by the fact that I'm looking at a picture that makes me stop in my tracks. There it is. It's there, darling.
Yeah. 2 seconds. Let's just
Yeah.
put this back on you.
Yes. Do you see
What's the picture of?
the whole village?
The whole village.
Yeah. That's the lowest figure, the lowest picture there, darling. As I told you.
lowest picture. This one.
I see it.
There you go. This is Horseshoe House.
That is Horseshoe House. That's what it was looking like, and unless there is a main front door. One of these is a main front door. I'm not sure. I think that it's difficult to guess which was the front door, but this is the house, and if if the subject is beyond that, then it's another. It's not not their house. This is the whole house, and you can go from wherever. This became the front door. I think the front door was one of these. That was a front door. You know, there were
That's
things
right,
like that.
that's right. But how does Horseshoe House make you feel? Let's just show Alex the image. How does Horseshoe House make you feel?
Amazed. I'm wondering how long it was since I had any connection with it. Horseshoe House. It's.
Does it make you feel comfortable? Was it pretty? Is it pretty?
No, it's a nice building, and it's not. I can't describe it in a short space of time, because indeed. I think it was. It could have been a house leased to others in a distance of time from when I last was in it. But I think. It's now lived in by others, and I'm not sure who's the person to.
No, not at all, not at all. Well, I would say that Horseshoe House is the idyllic English house, Cotswold house, ridiculously pretty, very comfortable, and plenty of fun to be had there.
Well, I believe you can, because indeed we certainly had fun when we lived there, and now that I don't live there, I don't know how long it has had or has been, but my mind already thinks about what is on that photograph, and it leads me to say to anybody else, no, you'll have to see for yourself what it's like.
Can I say something?
Yeah, go for it.
In a lot of the photo albums, there's a lot of images of you doing a lot of work to the garden and doing construction to the roof and everything. And I was just wondering, do you miss the house? Do you feel like a connection with the house, and do you miss it?
No, this is a funny thing. This that we're talking about. I've not felt any anything other than my most recent things are that the my most recent things are to wonder what goes on there now. I think I don't know how long had I been out of the house. I think I might have been out of the house for, it could have been quite a long time, like another 5 or 6 years from square one. So I had left a place which I hadn't been in recently, and yet I knew by pictures more or less what it was like, and yet didn't know all about it. And so it's almost a straight return if I was coming back to it. I wasn't going to be all that strange to it. We hoped that certain things might be actually happening, which would take your mind to saying, how interesting. Yes, interesting. So it's not going to be used differently. No. Make it into some form of other a house with another purpose. When Horseshoe House I left our control, I don't know that we knew much about it, not really. I think I was rather great to hear about it when there was music that it had been taken over by some other people who really were able to put their own things about it and change it. I had really lost my control of it, I thought, because somebody else really knew it and had taken it over. It's got a strange thought like that, and I would have I was readily thinking that we could take it over again. That all of these thoughts had passed through my mind, and I forget who I was with the last time I was talking about this. To say that well, it's. I was wondering, really, how to set about how to look after it. I think there was something of that, and it. Not real, not absolutely sure that the persons who took it over were really going to stay, were they? No, I had doubts about that, and thank you, darling.
It's fascinating, and I wanted to ask you, what, which room in the house did you think you spent the most time in?
Oh, yes. Well, I think I must be. I had thought, well, really, we had. When we left it, that anybody could set about doing what they could with it. And so I'd lost control of it, really. I was just aware that what a lovely place it was, and then coming round to thinking we should be, if we talk to the other people who've taken over, it may be entirely different.
Which was your favourite room of the house? The kitchen, the bedroom, the garden, the summer house, the Wendy house? You're a bit big for the Wendy house.
This is no. It's. I think I was one who, when we left the house, I couldn't think what they'd be doing. They might be changing it and turning it over into a farm or something like that.
This is good. Don't worry. This is good.
What about the rhubarb?
Oh, rhubarb was a lovely flavour. Rhubarb. Yes. Yeah. What did we do with the rhubarb?
You made plenty. That's what you did with it. No. I thought I interrupted you wrongly.
Oh no.
What? You made plenty of rhubarb, Rhubarb.
Really?
Yes. Marmalade.
And jam.
Gooseberries.
Gooseberries, something, and something else.
Raspberries.
Raspberries, yes. Yes, we could fix up a song. You want to hear a song?
Let's hear a song.
Shall we sing a song?
Let's sing a song.
Wait, who's going to be our bass? Or
I don't think I'm good enough for singing to do.
Oh,
You take the solo. I'll take the bass.
Okay.
So
that's not fair.
I'll judge.
Okay.
How would you like the bass to be? lyrical, smooth, beaty,
Yes, yes.
smooth.
I think lyrical and smooth, if it's anything like. Yes. Did it? So
Let's get back on topic.
yes, all right. You would have thought that if you when this is.
Well, Baba, what I remember is Swinging Safari. Now, if I get my phone out, I might be able to play it. And I do have signal, so just bear with me while I try and get out my phone. But we're gonna, it's fascinating to hear it, and I'm sure Alex will agree with me, that it's so good to hear you talk about it. Because what's so interesting is that I feel the same way about it. I couldn't tell you what my favourite room in the house is, but it was all of it. There's plenty of fun to be had in the garden, running down the hill, the Wendy house. And I think what's remarkable about the place is that the starkness of winter often makes places look disparate and terrible, but in whatever light, Wotton always looked good. And it was always warm. The Arga and the drawing room and the dining room, and you always lit the fire. Here we go. Let's see if I can find it. Swinging Safari. Camp. There we go. Do you recognise this? If it loads.
Yes, I know that, and it's now coming back to the mind, although I'd forgotten all about it.
Don't worry, don't worry.
It's that.
Well, we're just gonna go on, carry on.
Carry on, sorry.
Although it's although we my thoughts were that I really had recovered my thoughts about what it was like, and there were pieces of land that could be used for other purposes. Meaning a special private house or a special shop, and the shops used for other purposes, whatever they are. I've got a photograph of the house then, at that stage, what it looked like. I thought it had been developed, and I thought it looked really rather good, and indeed, you know the I can't say the word. One could still see the lovely furniture that must have been brought in by the newcomers. No, and then you know the photographs that we've got of the No, I just am aware that I had, or I would always remember the what the house could look like in another person's holding of it, and indeed, we've got photographs. I think we have photographs showing what the how the the first of the little buildings, as it were, made for the either an animal or just a human being, wondering what that it looked like. And I think we've got one photograph which does show a bit of all that was being done, or people. Yes, it's not necessarily done, but to say how different it might have been made into. And after all, it was not a big prospect to have that particular maybe a very small thing, or alternatively one would say that it's interesting to relate that it wasn't just left as a singleton. It was being developed as and it was going to be looking like this. I had all these thoughts have all gone through my mind about what it would look like, and I think we were already from time to time seeing the place, visiting it, I think.
You seem to think a lot about how someone's going to change the house.
Yes, well, you know, I think I've got a picture of it. Have I? That which shows how somebody had made it into a nice, tiny, a workshop, you know, but it was suitable for doing all the things you would like when you were simply saying, oh, we kept it to use it as a playground.
So, what does the thought of someone changing your house, how does that make you feel if you think about someone actually?
Well, we did, yes, you can realise that when I've got a picture of that in my mind of the the house. It was little, you know. It was a snug place.
But what feelings do you get?
And I didn't. No, I simply knew that it was rather good now.
Fascinating, because I haven't been back for a while either now, but I miss it a lot.
You miss it a lot.
Mhm.
Oh,
Do
I
you?
see. Well, yeah, yes. This is where it comes in. Well, can you see what we have actually done about it? We've got this little house down here now, as it is, because a tiny, almost like a big box type of thing, and it was made into just the halt for two to get a little look of the ground as it now is, whatever it was. And yes, I thought that we did have someone. I can't remember doing the work myself, but I believe that there was the move over to there being a guardhouse, and fit for the gardener to spend his time. If it's going to be the using of the house, the ground in another way, just to say, I'm going to stick a big gun. Because why not have a big gun here, and it would be wonderful just near the end of where now the house now is. I think that was my last thoughts, that really we took over the first ground, that seemed to be open at the end of our stay. Here was, and this was what happened hereafter, and it was certainly at least one hut, and that would be very useful there. We could do all our whatever we do, and it be attached. It could be attached quite separately, and there could be a distance between us. And with it being, as it were, as one foresaw it, one foresaw it being raised as a hut. You know, more or less like the size of this room, that enabled us to have somewhere out in the open, but not a big dwelling. It's just a little place where you could actually spend all the wet days that might ever come, you know, and you'd be able to be dry in it. I hadn't thought through all the things that would be involved in that. But I mean, it's rather like this room that we're in. To simply say that this was the extra piece of wood, and all of the other things that you see are what we can see now. But it did start by having a you know, the small it started off by being a small something, and it's possible that actually then through the changes in later years, you know, not just 1, 2, 3 years, or might be, suppose it got to, well, it might have got to 1936. You know what I mean?
I do. I was going to ask you something, I've completely forgotten what it was. Do you remember there was a huge tree at the end of the garden?
Yes.
What happened to it?
I don't know. I don't know what happened to that. But it was rather like the thinking about the much smaller like a small apple tree that was still growing after you'd planted it, and now you've got it at 2 years been planted here. You know, what would that look like? That would, and if supposing it, yes, believe it or not, the ground was good for the fruitage.
I just looked at the time. I have. I'm gonna get that photo album over there. Unless you have any other thoughts, Alex.
They're all good.
Let's get some of the sweets out of these.
Would you like a chocolate bar?
There
We're
are-
going to have lunch soon.
Oh.
You're having lunch in 20 minutes.
Oh no, well, we don't need that.
You can leave them.
Yes.
Now, this is a fascinating photo album, and I just wanted to show you some images in here because I remember them, and I want to scan a few more. And I wanted to show you some of them because yesterday I couldn't remember who this man was, and I've found out who it is.
Oh,
And let's keep
that's
going.
that's an interesting one. Yes.
There we go. The man in question, wearing just the clothes I remember him to wear, is this guy here, who's also here. Can you remember his name or who he was?
No, I can't.
It's Ian Howard.
Ian Howard.
Ian Howard, yeah. Do you remember Ian Howard?
It's a name that, yes, it's not strange, but I wouldn't have been able to say other than yes. I might.
He
even
was the
like-
gardener.
He was the gardener.
Yeah, before Malcolm.
Ah, yes, yes. That makes quite a good for the history side of things to say. Subsequently, he remained, and his family have settled there, and it's possible that they have got a family, because looking here, here's it's at least a smallish house in a biggish garden under a biggish tree, and then there are the open spaces alongside them.
See, I just asked you about the tree being cut down. See, this is it. You can see
Yes,
you've got
yes.
the tree was being taken down in 2003, and I remember it. I would have been only 8. But yeah, there we go. It was completely different.
Your memory of all the things that were going
Well,
on.
I'm only going by these helpful tags in the
I
corner.
Anyway, they're interesting to look at.
They are.
To any who actually wondered, I wondered how that finally changed its shape, if it was. And after all, look here. If I move forward 2 or 3 pages, there are quite a lot of changes. Walls are around the place, a lamp up above, a wall, and a tree, a low tree which is covered in flowers, and then a very high placed lamp, and all in places that were able to be placed. It's yes, it would be nice to live in a family house, provided that if all things were going smoothly and able to have heat built up from either just an ordinary fireplace, I think.
You said it would be nice to live in a place like this. You did. This is the drawing room. Do you recognise it?
Yes, this is exactly what I would have said. And if you see the things, the other things that were put up to indicate what else we were thinking about. No, this is really a very relevant one to be saying this is the sort of thing that went on, and if subsequently we had a very lovely a waiting room, really. We're just trying to give the notion of being very comfortably with something
it's amazing. I just want to change the topic a little bit, because you and I, other than being relatives, grandson and grandfather, we have another thing in common, And that's Portsmouth Grammar School.
Ah, yes.
Tell me about what your experience of Portsmouth Grammar School was like.
Well, I was
Can we take a photo album?
I've got
Sorry.
it, don't worry. Carry on. What was your experience of Portsmouth
well,
Grammar
I have to say that I ran the Portsmouth Grammar School, brought it up from the founders. The founders founded, and I certainly believe that I carried it on, and that we were having our own adjuncts, you know, little places like this, down in a field, you know, that sort of thing.
And you remember that your son-in-law Tim, not your son, but Jane's husband, Tim Hands, he was headmaster at Portsmouth Grammar School.
Ah, yes, I remember. I'm reminded that yes, he was the headmaster of Portsmouth Grammar School.
What did the buildings you were talking about, what did they look like?
I think I didn't know them all because indeed I wasn't taking in all, but I had realised as we things as the times passed, it was, I think, they who settled on a lovely a shed, I think one would have to call it, a shed. In other words, not too big, but it had all the snug things. The things were. It was a hut, and a pleasant one too.
Can I ask something?
Absolutely. We haven't got too long.
Okay, it's not about Portsmouth.
No, don't worry.
Okay. Okay, yeah. Can I just change the subject?
Yes, sure.
Cool. I'm just going to sit
Yeah,
here.
yes, sir. 3 bags also.
I'd just like to ask, do you understand your memory?
No, I can't understand my memory. Because it doesn't always. That's the point about it, is that you do have a memory of any kind at all, and really those any houses that we had planted in a field, well, that would be the sort of thing that we're talking about. And yes, indeed, actually it was quite useful. You know, surprising that we had, when we say held the property in our hands and pushed it up and it's and it's on the edge of this or on the edge of that.
Do you know what dementia is?
Dementia.
Mm.
Yes, it's a measure of things of various small dimensions, which illustrate really just what the things were. These are the people who were actually nearer being the persons who actually lived like this than I personally on my side. I wasn't the one who actually then went to live in not Greece, but he went to live in the Far East. Yes, he lived in the Far East, and he would be a man who would look like that. And there's Jane, the wife of the person. That's how they were able to carry on right through all your life, and you would have been young enough to be able to think. It's amazing how we've fitted in the Middle East. Is that a phrase, the Middle East, that you reckon that you can you can imagine or knew it? Well, these were they, and what I don't have.
Hello.
Hello.
Lunchtime, is it?
Yeah.
We'll come bring him.
All right.
Thank
We'll
you
come
very
bring him.
much.
Thank you.
Quick. Okay. When I noticed that sometimes when we talk
Uh-huh.
and you're trying to remember something, it takes a long while
Yes.
to get to that memory.
Yes.
What is that like? Why is it taking so long? Is it frustrating?
No, the person may not have been interested in being going to change his life from here in Oxford to yes. It went to Greece, and he then carried on in Greece, and in Greece it was a bigger place then. It was all. That's really how some of them disappeared. They were bettered by the patience and the ability to do things, and actually, for instance, stay apart. Be the man who sets up the place for the planes eventually to go, but but meanwhile he sets up it there or gets fame for simply the getting the habitation.
Baba, we've got to stop you there
Yes.
and get you to lunch.
Yes.
So